How the hell does he breathe in this thing? Let alone kill people. Well, tell you what, enough make you sweat this thing. This is a cheap version from Amazon. You buy cheap, you get cheap, that's all I can say. Anyway, so last night I went to see Halloween Ends, and this is going to be my little review on Halloween Ends. This does have spoilers, so I will warn you now. If you haven't seen the movie and you do not want it spoiled, I suggest that you switch off the video and go watch the movie. Now, what were my thoughts on Halloween Ends? I did enjoy it. Now I'm going to try and break down some of the things in the film that I noticed, and we're going to go from there really. So the start of the film, the actual intro part, the part they do on all the Halloween films, always involves a pumpkin, something happening. This one I thought was really good. It was like, you had like a pumpkin and another one would come smashing through from behind, and then you get another pumpkin and another one from behind will smash through that one. Each one had a different face, and it was like the classic faces from other films, or the carved into the pumpkins. I thought that was really good. Then the film sort of went to an unexpected sort of like a year after the year after Halloween Kills and 2018, and we see a boy babysitting, which is already a weird thing. Obviously, girls babysitting. We see a boy babysitting. The parents mentioned that the child they're babysitting had been acting a bit strange after the events of last year, which obviously the Michael Myers terrorising the whole town through the 2 movies previous. Then the mum and dad go to the party. They sit down to watch the babysitter sits down to watch a film with the young boy, and they're watching The Thing, which obviously John Carpenter's possibly his greatest film. A lot of people say that or this or the Halloween original one will be his greatest films. So they're watching The Thing. It's a bit gruesome for the kid to be watching. So the babysitter's then like, well, we should probably turn it off. He then goes out into the kitchen. I think that's the thing when you watch a film like the night before, you try to remember it. I can't remember why he disappeared. He leaves the room. Can't remember why. And when he comes back, the boy's gone. And the boy's making screaming sounds. He's running around. He's already mocked the babysitter for being scared of Michael Myers, because like everyone in the town is now scared of Michael Myers. And he goes off on a little hiding mission. This little kid. He's basically setting up the babysitter to scare the hell out of the babysitter. So he sort of goes in the kitchen, hides a knife. The babysitter then running around thinking, "Oh my God, has Michael Myers returned? Is this it?" Like sort of thing. The kid then makes screaming noises. He runs upstairs into this room. The babysitter follows him, finds a knife on the stairs, goes into the attic sort of bit, and the kid slams the door shut behind him, freaking out the babysitter. Obviously, this kid is obviously scared because obviously what happened last year, it's still on all their minds. And the kid's freaking out, and he's like kicking at the door as the parents are coming back in. So this scene was not nice. So as the parents come back in, literally as they walk through the door, the babysitter kicks the door hard, and as the door sort of swings open, it smashes the kid in the face and knocks him over a balcony, and he falls down to his death. And it's quite a horrific death. The way the kid hits that floor is nasty, and it's one of those moments. I remember I sort of winced in the film watching it. Yeah, so that's sort of the opening, and then obviously you see the mother grabs her son, starts screaming up at the babysitter like, "You've killed him," blah blah blah. And then you see the police come arrest the babysitter, and like Laurie Strode is watching. And it's almost as if they're trying to suggest that the town has now been like overtaken by this like fear of Michael Myers, this absolute terror of it's kind of like engulfed the town. 'Cause obviously we had in the previous film sort of the riots that were happening, sort of the vigilantism, I think that's the word, that was happening because of Michael Myers. And it was a real scary sort of like time for them. So I guess it's like traumatized this town and like as the film goes on, you hear more of this. Like the town's had lots of different things happening since then, and they're trying to find a new boogeyman to replace Michael Myers, who has disappeared. Because that's all we know is that after the events of Kills, he went. So after he killed Laurie's daughter, he's just disappeared, and no one's seen him since. Well, not anyone. Not someone's seen him, but anyway, get more to that later. So Then we go to sort of like, it's only flashes forward a couple more years, and we go to the Laurie Strode, and she's a completely different woman now. This is why this film to me feels different from the previous two. They've completely changed Laurie into this sort of like happy housewife type thing. During one of the seasons of The Evil Dead, I remember Carol did this. She's obviously the tough Carol that we all know, but she sort of started acting as if she was like the happy housewife, going and making everyone cookies and things. It was kind of an act she was putting on. And I felt like that was kind of what they were trying to do with Laurie, that she was putting on this act, that everything was okay now, and she sort of turned a new leaf. She was no longer sort of like the vengeful victim. She was now this happy woman trying to have a normal everyday life. But it felt weird and disjointed. It didn't feel right. Her niece, her granddaughter, who now lives with her, is obviously struggling with the fact that her parents have died, but she's sort of moved on as well. She has her own like little job in I think it's a hospital she's working in. She's trying to get promotion for a nurse. So they're trying to move on. It's like that. We're trying to move on from everything, and it's quite good that they're doing that. Of course, then the events start. So also, then we go back to meeting this the kid, the babysitter, whose name I literally could not remember this kid's name. I've tried. I didn't want to Google it because I was hoping I could try and remember it, because I think that's important when you're sort of doing these reviews. If you can remember a name or a character or a person, it means they stood out. This kid, while most of the film is centered around this kid, this babysitter, he's not really a kid, he's in his 20s, but most of the film is centered around him. It's still like, I can't remember his name for the life of me. I'm going to give him a name later on. I'm going to sort of give him a little nickname later on, but we'll get into that anyway. So, the kid's then being like bullied by these guys. Obviously, people know who this guy is. They know that he killed this kid accidentally, even though like a lot of people will suspect foul play, because they think like he might have stabbed him, killed him, threw him over the balcony. But we know from watching the thing it was an general accident. But the whole town seemed to like vilify this kid straight away. So he's now become the sort of like thing everyone's talking about and mocking. So we get to meet him. He gets bullied by these rather nasty high school sort of like jock types. It's that classic trope in it, the high school jock's the bully. So they're sort of bullying him. They shove him around. They push him in glass. He cuts his hand. Laurie comes along, sort of helps him. Says she knows who he is, and she takes him to the hospital to meet her granddaughter. And this is a really weird bit, because she considering everything this kid's been through and everything her granddaughter's been through, Laurie's trying to sort of match make with these two, and that didn't make no sense. And what more didn't make no sense is how quickly attracted her granddaughter became to this kid that had gone through this tragic accident thing. And that didn't make sense to me. It felt like it was too quick, too rushed, and it was just sort of like thrown in there. This film feels very, I don't know, it's like it was written in different times and then they just shoved it all together. It's like a couple of movies rolled into one. It's bizarre, it's a bizarre thing. It's a bizarre mix. So we've then got the sort of like the meeting between these two and the sort of love interest going on and wanting to ask for a date and all this sort of stuff. We then so then we find out there's a few missing people about, like not many. They mention later on in the film that there's been 4 missing people, but we see posters of missing people in the sort of backgrounds and things. So then we get the romantic relationship, and this seems to go on for a long way through the movie. This romantic relationship seems to go on for quite a while, trying to get this sort of to this point, and it felt like at least the first half of this movie wasn't a horror film, wasn't really even like a Michael Myers Halloween film. It just felt like a sort of a romantic love story, but a very tragic one, like a sort of depressing one. It was very sort of like emo-y almost, with that sense of depression. It was very down, but trying to be upbeat. It's a strange film. It really is very different from the other two. So then we've got the go-tos basically are two I suppose they're kind of like the two main characters really, because Laurie kind of takes a backseat. So I suppose the granddaughter and this new son, as I'm about to give you a new nickname for him in a minute. They go to a party. He accidentally bumps into the mum of the kid that he killed at the party, which is a very awkward situation. She has a go at him like, how dare you be enjoying yourself when my son's dead and all this stuff, and you killed him. I know it was you, even though you go off with it. And you kind of feel for this kid at this point, because obviously you can see the terror in his face and the guilt and all that stuff in him, and you worry about this poor kid who's gone through all this hell, and now he's got this woman shouting him, and it's not nice for the kid. So then he leaves, and then again these bullies turn up again. He's on his own. The bullies turn up and they have a fight, and they beat him up and they throw him over the edge of this bridge, and he lands, gets knocked out. Then we see him get dragged away. And then when he wakes up, he's in a sewer with Michael Myers, who grabs him by the front. We think this kid's done for now. So Michael's got him. We found Michael, and Michael doesn't do anything to him. He kind of holds him, and then there's this weird, almost like transfer of, I suppose, evil, because they're trying to show that the evil is kind of like a contagious thing, and it kind of transfers into this kid, and then the kid then becomes, what I'm now going to call him, Mini Michael. He becomes like the replacement for Michael Myers, because when he comes out, he's a very different person. He comes out, and this like trampy guy wants to. This is the weird bit. I don't get this bit. This bit really threw me off. The trampy guy then tries to kill the kid. The tramp we've seen a couple of times in this film up to this point, just sort of in the background, sort of picking cans up, not really doing anything, sees this kid, and then gets a knife out to him and says he wants him to go and get the mask from Michael Myers, or he's going to kill him. And there's a bit of a tussle, and then our little Mini Michael kid stabs this guy. And then it's all about sort of like this kid trying to come to terms with like what's going on. He's just killed someone, all this sort of stuff. He then goes and finds Laurie's granddaughter again, and then they sort of like form another romantic bond. But at this point is when Laurie sees him for the first time since she's obviously tried to introduce him. She likes this kid. She then sees him this time, and she notices there's a difference in him. Straight away looking at him, there's something different about him. She can almost sense that evil. And then we go to the second half of this film, where now we've got Laurie, who's realising that there's something not right about this Mini Michael kid. Again, I cannot remember this poor kid's name. But yeah, there's something not right about him. Sensing the evil in him, obviously, that she caught. And she says, later on, she says, it's the same eyes as Michael's eyes. And this gets repeated by someone else who sees him in another weird sort of part that sort of looks like it's been written and shoved in later on. But yeah, so you've got this kid now who's gone from being a victim of a horrific accident, and now he's killed someone. And then we move on a bit more to that, because obviously these two then are a couple. They start going out on more dates, and she bumps into her ex-boyfriend, who's a police officer, and they have a bit of an argument in a cafe, and the boy stands up to this police officer, and there's a bit of a stare down. And then later on, the police officer obviously is now following him, because he's a bit of a dodgy cop, a bit of an arsehole police officer type, her ex-boyfriend. And he takes her to this like obviously he's now following Mini Michael, who purposely leads him back to where Michael Myers, real Michael Myers, is in the sewer again. And it's almost like it's like the boy traps him. He takes him down there, and he says to Michael, "I want you to show me how you do it." And with that, Michael then kills this copper in a rather brutal way. And personally, the way he does it, because the kid grabs the copper, pulls him back and lays him back down on himself, and then Michael starts stabbing at the copper, which could have easily, the knife could have gone through and hit the kid. It was a really weird way of doing it. But yeah, so he's like, show me how you do it. So now we know we've got this weird little team of sort of like, it's kind of like student and teacher, sort of like, almost like, it's kind of like a Star Wars apprentice sort of thing. Like, you've got the master and the apprentice. It becomes that, and it's a murder thing, and it's bizarre. So now you've got that going on. So we know that there's like this babysitter kid who you've gone from really feeling sorry for to suddenly now like hating because he becomes a murderer. And then he goes off on a killing spree, and he starts killing all the people that have bugged him. So he goes after all of the bullies, and he like leads them back to his dad's, like, it's like a scrapyard. His dad owns a scrapyard, where we repeatedly keep looking at this machinery, which I'll come back to later. But yeah, he's down at the scrapyard, and the kid just sets these like bullies up, and he's got Michael's mask on. He massacres the hell out of them. And that, actually, oh no, sorry, that I've jumped too far ahead. No, because we've got to go back. Because he first of all goes around, he kills the doctor that's supposed to give his girlfriend a promotion and didn't. He gives it to the nurse he was banging, for less of a better word. This is what I mean. This film is a crazy film. So much happens in a. It's quite. It's not a long film. It's a short film, but so much happens. It's hard to remember everything that you see. So yeah. So the kids and Michael sort of learning how. Michael's teaching the kid how to kill people by just basically showing him, and the kid sort of helping by killing some people. And then the kid sort of has a bit of a row with Michael and takes his mask. Says, "I need this," and he goes off with Michael's mask in Michael's outfit and starts killing people as Michael. And it kind of it's I'm still trying to get my head around the stuff that happens in this movie because I liked it, but at the same time it's a mental movie. It's a proper mental. The word cluster something, and I don't want to say the rest of it, but it's that kind of a thing. It's just insanity goes on in this movie. So now we've got Mini Michael pretending to be Michael, dressing up as Michael, attacking people as Michael. And yeah, he goes after these bullies. He massacres the bullies in a really horrific way. One of them he sort of like torches in the mouth and with a blowtorch. That's quite nice. You don't actually see that one properly, but you know what's happening. It's one of those sort of kills. So once he's wiped them out, and and the nicest man in the entire movie, who is this kid's dad, this Mini Michael's real life dad, gets killed, and you kind of don't want this guy to die because he's been looking out for his son the whole time. He's giving his son a job. He's always defending his son. To the mum, who's a very strict, almost Carrie's mum like mum. He sort of defends him a little bit with her and tries to look after him. He gets shot in the face accidentally, so that's kind of a nasty one. So the kid's done that. He then goes on this little killing spree, killing all his people. At the same time, he said to his girlfriend, Laurie's granddaughter, that they want to run away together. So he's kind of like two people at the same time. You've got this guy who doesn't understand what's going on with himself, and you've got the psycho killer. It's almost like two people competing, but then they sort of like become one, which is where it gets really weird. Because it feels like this film should be longer to explain a lot of this, but they try and condense it a bit short, and that's my issue with it. It feels like they tried to condense too much. It sort of jumped really fast to where it got to, a bit too fast. Because it kind of reminds me of Star Wars in a way, when Anakin's like, "Oh, so if I join the dark side, I can then like save my girlfriend. Okay, I'll go kill some kids now." And he just goes and just kills kids. It's the same thing as that. Sort of like he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go run away with my girlfriend, so now I'm just going to go murder loads of people. It's fine." It happens too fast for me. It happens a lot too fast. So then we've got, obviously, this guy. He's going killing everyone that sort of upset his girlfriend and upset him in the past. And obviously he knows his girlfriend's got a bit of a rough relationship now with Laurie over him. So he goes to kill Laurie. And this is where this film goes. Well, I think this is where this film got it wrong. And again, it goes too fast. This should have happened a lot earlier on in the movie. And then what happened... Right, I'll try and explain now. So he goes there to kill Laurie, who is basically pretending to him that she's going to kill herself. She sets herself up for a suicide. Again, really out of character for Laurie. We think this the whole time I'm watching something, and this is really out of character. This makes no sense that she's got this depressed that now she's going to kill herself. After everything in the previous films, she's now going to kill herself because she's upset because her granddaughter's angry with her. And it just made no blinking sense. And then we find it because this is her little trap for Mini Michael, because obviously she knows who it is. She's already had a conversation with about it. Again, I keep forgetting these weird little bits. It's hard to talk about these things because so much happens in a really condensed way. So she's now knows who he is, knows what he's done, and she's waiting for him. And she sets him up. She pulls the trigger. He opens the door, thinking he's going to find a dead body, and there she is with a gun. Bang. And then they have this little like tussle fight thing, and she's got him down. As the daughter's about to walk through the door, because obviously he knows she's coming. So the granddaughter's about to walk through the door. He then stabs himself in the throat to make it look like Laurie's done it, in order for the daughter to hate Laurie. Which, to me, if that happened earlier in the film, they could have made more of that. And it could have been the movie, sort of the granddaughter not trusting her grandmother anymore because she's killed the boyfriend. But instead they do it really quickly, and then the daughter goes off, and then about 5 minutes later she has a change of heart and comes back. And that's what I mean. This film is like a microwave movie. It's been condensed down so much that it kind of doesn't make sense. It all happens too fast. And I've said that too many times now. So then we've got the kid's dead, the granddaughter's run off, and then Michael makes his appearance again in Laurie's house. And then we get the fight we've been waiting for. But basically the fight that we saw kind of a glimpse of in the trailer. And this is what we've been waiting for. This is the fight, the final fight between these two, Laurie and Michael. And considering that in the previous film, they kind of made Michael out to be this sort of like supernatural, super strong, evil infused killer, in this one he's kind of not. He's gone back to being just a normal man again. It's like they changed their mind. Like Halloween 2018, he was a normal man who was a psychopath, but still a normal man, a mental patient that escaped. And then in Kills, they sort of slowly build up that it's more than that. He's like evil incarnate. It's kind of like going to almost, but not quite as far as the route that the previous sequels made that don't exist in this sort of part of the universe. That he's some sort of supernatural being with extra powers. But then when we see Michael in this film, he's not as strong as he was. He's a lot weaker and he's vulnerable. So then you have the big fight with Laurie. And this fight is really, really brutal. Like some of the killings we've seen already have been quite brutal. We've seen a lot of nasty stuff. But this fight, Laurie's getting her head smashed in. It's almost like both of them are a little bit more than human, but they're fighting for this good versus evil. And you see this big fight kick off. And then Laurie gets the better of Michael, but what I can only say, she crucifies him to the kitchen table, which I kind of thought that kind of made me giggle a little bit, because he's like laying there and he's literally, it's sort of crucified. He's basically had his hands pinned down by knives into the table. She actually hammers one in, and then she drops a fridge on his legs to pin him down, and he's sort of like this on the table. And then she obviously takes the mask off. She does a big speech and stuff to him, and then she slits his throat, and then she slits his wrist. No, she doesn't. She slits his throat, and then he grabs her by the throat, and he starts to transfer, the same way he did to the boy, the evil into her. And you get all the flashes of previous images, and you're like, oh my God, is now Laurie going to become the killer? Is she going to become evil incarnate? We just don't know. So then the granddaughter turns up, and she's like, I'm sorry now, I know it's you, but I'm not going to let him do this to you. And then she just breaks his arm. And it's like, again, did we need that? I don't know. It's like, it's just enough that I'm not going to do it. Then Laurie slits his wrist and he bleeds out and he's dead. And the police all turn up. And this is where it gets really weird, because there's no way this could happen ever. Even the town having what's happened, it just makes no sense. Again, it's this rushed thing. So all the police turn up, they've got Michael's body, and they're like, no, this isn't enough. We have to make sure, we have to know he's dead. We have to do something. Now, all the way through the film, every time we go to the junkyard, we see this like trash compactor thing. Now that you see on YouTube all the time, is these little videos where the sort of like, it's like these cogs that sort of do that, like that, and like metal goes into them, they sort of get crushed in the metal. It's that machinery in the scrapyard. And what they do, they then drive Michael's body on top of the car so everyone can see him in the town, and then the townspeople follow them. This is what I mean about insane this film is the townspeople follow them with Michael's body on top of the car, and they get to this scrap heap and they drop him in this machinery, and Laurie sort of does the final push in. And they start it up, and you literally see Michael like mangled in this thing. There's no way he's coming back. They're not going to do like they do with H2O, where his head gets chopped up, oh, it's somebody else. They can't do that now. They've literally shown him get like mangled into pieces. You see his head sort of caved in. It's a nasty scene. It's real brutal and gory. And I was like, well, he's definitely dead. Evil has definitely died tonight. There's no dissing that. Evil has died tonight. And then you think, oh, okay, that's it. And then you get this really weird sort of like, everything's okay now ending, where you've got the granddaughter then goes off because she's going to leave Haddonfield. She'll just get out of there and just live her life and be happy. You've got Laurie sort of reconnecting with the old sheriff in the town who she met in the previous films, that she had a romantic sort of relationship with. She reconnects with him. You've got the original copper, the guy that sort of the copper in Kills comes back, the sheriff. He turns up again to help them assist with this like this like almost like a barrel into the crusher machine of Michael Myers. And sort of everyone's sort of like, okay, we've done it, and the town's healed itself after. It's almost like when Michael died, the town healed, and it needed that sort of closure. So you're not going to have all the weirdness in the town anymore. And it kind of ends, and you're kind of like, huh, it's that sort of like. I didn't hate this film. I enjoyed watching it, and I sort of liked where it went. But at the same time, I was confused by where it went. I was confused by the story. I was confused at how quick everything was happening. I felt like it was unnaturally quick. We get characters pop up that I thought were going to be more important, like the girl that's in that Desperate Housewife show that was in the original Halloween. She pops up a few times and seems to be relevant to the story, but then we don't really see much of her after. And there's a couple of scenes, like obviously I've missed bits out because it's hard to remember everything when you're doing these little talks. So I had a few notes here, but I didn't really write much down. I can't explain this film. I know the internet are going to destroy this film. I know a lot of people are going to hate this film. I've already been on Facebook and seen a few posts with people saying like this film was just rubbish. They've ruined everything. Blunt was the one that made me laugh. Blumhouse is the new Rob Zombie was the one I wanted to quote on here because it made me chuckle because like just thought it was a bit harsh. But I felt that this isn't how I would have ended it. Put it that way. If I'd made this movie, it's not how I would have done it. It's not how most people would have done it. But it's now been done. And we know this is Jamie Lee Curtis's last film. Laurie Strode's not going to be in it anymore. They can't, because my fear when we first saw this like mini Michael guy, I thought, oh my god, they're going to kill off Michael Myers and possibly Laurie, and then we're going to get like future films with mini Michael Myers being the new Michael Myers and Laurie Strode's granddaughter being sort of the new Laurie Strode. I thought that's what they were going to do, and it was kind of like, oh, please don't do that, because unless you're going to make some real good movies, don't do that, because I don't like the idea of that. But instead, we did get an end. They promised us an end, and we got an end. It was called Ends, and it ended. And he's gone. Michael Myers is gone. And the town is happy, and they don't have to live under that shadow anymore. So it does end. They give us what we promised. But it was just a weird journey to get there. Considering how strong 2018 is, and then where they took it with kills, and then to this, it definitely doesn't feel wrong. I mean, I did my like non-spoiler sort of like first thoughts when I left the cinema, when I got home, and I sort of did this with my hand where I sort of said that Halloween is 2018 is there, Halloween Kills is there, and then you've got this like separate little Halloween Ends over here. So it's almost this is missing. And I do feel like there's something missing because this film was too condensed. I'm not saying I want a longer film, but maybe take some parts out. There's parts that didn't need. There's this whole scene where Laurie goes to the bar and finds the dad of the kid that got killed in the beginning by Mini Michael when he knocked him over the thing. And the dad's like, oh, I drove past this kid and I looked at him and he's not got the same eyes anymore. He's got these like, there's like darkness and evil in his eyes. And it echoes something Loomis said in the previous Halloween film. So it was like, that bit just felt really sort of like disconnected. They even showed a lot of flashback of him driving past him and leaning over to talk to him and he just drives off. It was weird. It was almost as if this film was, I don't know if we're going to find out more about the making of this movie, but I bet there was a lot of rewrites and disagreements and changes and possibly production companies getting involved and things getting changed and directors getting the ump. And I can see this is going to be a very problematic movie to make. I think it's going to be a shame because I know that it's not going to be liked. It's going to be not liked by the majority of people, and I have a fear that that's the problem. As I said, I enjoyed the film. It wasn't my favourite film. It's definitely not my favourite Halloween movie. The first one still, the original, is still the best. The John Carpenter's original is still the best. I thought my favourite sequel was Halloween 2018. Now, technically, you could say that film ended, it was kind of a self-contained film. It didn't have to have a sequel, because the way it ended, you could say Michael died in that fire, end. But they decided to continue. I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea. I think now this has happened, it's kind of going to fall flat. But, you know, it's one of them things. And I'm going to stop this review. I've been talking far too long and gibbered on far too much about it. If you haven't watched it, I'm sorry if I spoiled it, but watch it for yourself. It's one of these films, I think it's going to be like one of these car crash films where you have to watch it to see it, because a lot of people don't like these movies, don't like Halloween, the Halloween movies, the newer ones, the Blumhouse ones. They're really not going to like this one, but it's going to be one of those car crash ones where you kind of have to watch it. And I think it'll either get a little cult following, kind of the way Halloween 3, the original Halloween 3's got now. It's a little cult following, people that just love that movie when everyone else didn't. It's going to be like that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little look at the film. I've not really done these reviews. I'm new at this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm saying. But I'm trying to sort of give more my feelings and my thoughts over. I have sort of vaguely gone through the film. There are probably other guys out there doing this sort of thing that are a lot better than I am. But yeah, I would watch this film just to see it. It's one of those, it is literally a car crash film where you have to watch it. So go out and watch it. I enjoyed it because I enjoy this franchise. I like the characters. And I just had to know where it ended. I had to go and see this movie anyway. I had to go and see it soon before it got spoiled. If I'm the guy that spoiled it for you, I'm very, very sorry. I did tell you it was spoilers. Please forgive me for it. If you have liked this, just because I'm starting to get more people liking what I'm doing lately since I've switched from nature to horror Halloween. If you like it, please put a little message in the comments or subscribe. That would be really helpful. My kids are liking the fact I'm getting more subscribers now. They keep asking me like, Dad, how many have you got today? And I'm like, well, it's not a lot. Cause I haven't got a lot of subscribers at all. I've only got like 100 and something subscribers. But my kids think that makes me God. So thank you to all those subscribers. And I hope to see you guys in the future for more videos. And I'm going to try and get better at them. I really am going to try and get better. I'll see you guys soon. Have a great night.